Welcome to Morning Meditations. This is the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson, the third chaplain here at Christian Hospital for Palliative Care. It is with a great sense of joy and enormous privilege that I greet you and share with you these morning meditations each week. It is because I'm aware of what it feels like to try to live through things day after day and to need encouragement and inspiration along the way. And so that what we're hoping to do is to be able to share with you in these moments these words of inspiration to encourage you along the way at whatever point in your journey you may be. It may be in your career, it may be personal, it may be professional, it may be in a moment in which you are dealing with life situations, family situations, and even, dare I say, your own health conditions and circumstances. We began this journey several years ago, a couple of years ago, thinking of not only our patients, but also their families and as well as our staff here at the hospital. We were concerned that we were really trying to serve and pouring out of ourselves while at the same time we were not necessarily being replenished as we were journeying along the way. All of us have our families, all of us have our friends, and many of us have our faith traditions or communities that pour into us, but many of us do not. And we hoped that we might prepare or provide, rather, an opportunity for us to share words of encouragement to let you know that you're special to us, not just to the hospital, but to all of humanity. And it is important that we share with you how very important you are to the mix of the whole. No family is anything without every part, and not even our bodies can actually function well without actually having all the parts feeling well. And so we want to make sure that, or at least give a try to touch you wherever you are and to encourage you and let you know that you are loved, you are appreciated, and you are irreplaceable. Today's message is one that we've been sitting with for weeks, perhaps. It's been a while. In the beginning of maybe a couple of months ago, in fact, there was a movie that I went to go see. It was fun to go and see it, called Everything Everywhere All at the Same Time. And I may have made mention of it, highlighted it in an earlier video as we were sharing. But I was thinking about it over the past couple of weeks, especially. And it seems like all of us, many of us, if not all of us, are forced to deal with some peculiar circumstances right about now. It's as if we are presented with this barrage, this wealth of emotions that we're having to navigate and know when to do what and where, especially in these times of social media platforms and conversations with family and things that we see on television and emails and social media, whatever it is that we're doing, as I mentioned before, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, we're always gathering in opinions and ideas and what's happening in the world. And in a moment's notice, we're called upon to deal with all of those things all at the same time. This very past week or two, I have found that I was scrolling through and seeing friends and loved ones. Some were graduating, their children were graduating from high school or college, and I would send a text message of congratulations and wishing I was there. And yet others were grieving the loss of loved ones, and I had to shift emotionally so that I can appropriately apply the same type of energy, but also with my condolences to them. And it seems that we move from one thing to another. We watch our sports events and we get the news and we are celebrating on one end, and then we see tragedy right before us with the shootings in Buffalo and the shootings in Texas. And we grieve for those who are going through, and we're called to shift, almost shape shift emotionally in order to deal with the barrage and the multitude of emotions that we feel. It is an amazing thing to be able to deal with it. And so that I was having a conversation with my daughter not long ago, and what she reminded me of and what she was going through at the moment, she gave me these words and she said, I said, well, honey, what's really happening? And she said, In 3 words, trying to encapsulate it and put it all together, she said, Dad, it's a lot. And I wanted to at least give those feelings expression here. It is a lot. As much as we are dealing with, as much as we are trying to navigate, we find ourselves dealing with a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to be a dad. It's a lot to be a mom. It's a lot to be in that place where you're trying to take care of your children and to take care of your parents at the same time. It's a lot to try to figure out how to make ends meet and then discover that the little income or the resources that you have before have been swallowed up in the economy just by putting gas in your car. It's a lot to try to discover that while you are tempted to try to be angry about what's happening in the world, but you're overwhelmed with too much stimulation, too much bad news that you really want to withdraw and not participate in anything. It is a lot when you found yourself in a place where you've had loss and the people that you counted on, that you thought would always be there, have now transitioned this life for the next, or you've been in the process of separating your lives through divorce or a breakup, or you found that even your own children are moving off into the world to do their own thing, and they no longer are thinking about what you're doing or are assigning themselves to the relationship you had in the past. And even some of us have had lifelong friendships that have been there forever, but they somehow no longer hold the muster and the connection that they had before. It is a lot. And so I thought that what I might share with you is that whenever it becomes too much and becomes a lot for you, for us as a nation, as a citizen of the world, as a family member, as a mom, as a dad, as a patient who is getting bad news from the doctors, or news that is going to determine what the course of your next few days or weeks or months will be. One thing is true, it is a lot. But I'm reminded of this little story, and I won't be long. And it's a story of this father and his son who were out in the yard doing some yard work. And while they are working, it's hot, it's warm. And the father says to the son, do the best you can. And the son says, I'm going to do it. I'm a big man now. I can really do this. But he comes to a place where it was a rock in the area where the young son was working. And so he kept pulling on the rock, and he kept pulling on the rock to move it. And his father said to him, son, use all your strength. So he says, I am. So he gritted his teeth and tried to move the rock again. And still it wouldn't budge. And his father says, use all your strength. He says, I am. And he tried some more. And he said, Dad, I'm just tired. I've used all my strength. I've done everything I can to move this rock, and I just can't move it. The father says, you didn't use all your strength. He said, yes, I did. He said, no, you didn't, because you didn't ask me. Yeah, you didn't ask me. And often I think that's the way God deals with us. We don't really ask God, our creator, to help us when it's a lot. So we find ourselves trying to figure it out on our own and trying to draw out a path. And some of us, even though we may have our faith traditions, we like, well, we'll handle it on our own. Well, there's some things you may be able to try to handle on your own. But when it becomes a lot, that's when you discover that you can't really do it that way. Use all your strength, call on your creator, talk to God about it. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll discover you have more strength than your little hands or your arms or your mind or your life thought you had, because you have the one who created you that invites you to invite God into the place when it's a lot. I was thinking about that this weekend, and I was retracting, going back over Memorial Day this past weekend. And as we were moving into the next week, we discovered that we were struggling with whether or not we have come through everything that we thought we could. We've been through a lot, and remembering those we've lost, and remembering those who we love so much. And what we discovered is that when we didn't think we had enough, we had exactly enough. Because when it's a lot, God shows up just like that. Well, I wanted to encourage you that when it is a lot, don't be too overwhelmed. Don't try to do it on your own. Ask for help. You might get it from God, but you also may get it from your friends. You might get it from loved ones. You might get it from strangers. You might discover that whatever you need for each day, not for the days that are yet to come, we don't know what will happen then, but for right now, you have exactly what you need to make it through today. And don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow you'll have exactly what you need to make it through that day. That's the way we've discovered how to live our lives, one day at a time. And when we look back over our lives, we discovered that's the only way we could live them anyway. Just a bunch of todays, not tomorrows, but a bunch of todays that we keep on adding in succession. And every day, even though it's a lot, we'll make it through. Thank you for giving us your time today, and we want to encourage you uh, to be strong and laugh and love your life. It's the one life we're given, as Mark Nepo reminds us. And in fact, it is a great life if you allow it to be. Thanks so much. Remember, you're loved, you're appreciated, and you are irreplaceable. Have a great day and have a great week.